How is everybody doing today? I hope everybody had a good day. I know it was rainy today, but still was a good day. You was able to get up, open your eyes, breathe, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, move around. So it was a good day. Now, today, another podcast about universal individual development, UID. I'm going to go through my story as a young man progressing through life. And as you can see by today's topic, is getting to stability as a young man. What, like 19, 20? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Getting out of poverty to stability. My family was not in poverty, but we wasn't rich. So we had enough to get by, but they knew how to survive. They knew how to make things from almost nothing. I come from people that were thrifty, that knew how to take what they had and stretch it. So I had a grandma, she not only grocery shop, but also would get commodity food just cause. She did both. Very humbling to see. She was able to go grocery shopping, get the groceries that she want, and then take advantage of the things that was given away for free, the commodity food at Watershed. I think that's where it was. But in order to get out of poverty state to stability, it's incremental. It's putting together good decisions. Is financial management based on circumstance, sacrificing some of the pleasures or some of the desires that you want. It's not a one answer thing, it's a multiple phase strategy that you have to use to get out of poverty. So, if there are any kids, any young adults out there that's in a situation you feel like you're in a poverty situation, how do you get to stability? First thing is find, if you can find a job as early as you can. I know for me, I started working when I was in ninth grade. The summer of ninth grade, going into the 10th grade, that's when I got my first job. Now it wasn't on paper; it was just working for Greg at BP. First job, first time dealing with money. Did I have the best management skills? Nope. Did I have good financial management skills? Nope. As a matter of fact, one time, because I was making dumb decisions, I had probably $300 in my pocket one time, and I lost it riding the bike. It fell out of my pocket, lost it. Was sick. That's why I'm so intentional about talking about making good decisions, because a lot of times hindsight is 2020. Sure, yes, it is. But with all the technology that's out now, you have so much access to learning about financial management, learning about investing, learning about these things. You just go to YouTube, but instead, a lot of times you want to look at other stuff instead of development. And if you can find a way to balance it, where you can look at that stuff and look at development, it's all about balance. But if you over too much on one side, looking at stuff that's not developing you, it'll show in your results. So, first thing is to get a job early as you can if you're able to get a job. Talking about people that's able to work. Second thing is learn how to manage your money. My mom really drove it home, and some of the things I listened to, some of it I didn't. But as I got older, I really started to understand what she was saying. And the reason why I didn't listen, I can tell you exactly why, because debit cards, that's when debit cards first started to come out. There used to be a time there were no debit cards. And it actually not too long ago, it's pretty funny, and you had to balance a checkbook. Literally, you had to balance a checkbook. You had a balance. Every time you spent some money, you had to subtract from that balance. If you wrote a check, you had to subtract in your checkbook from that balance that's in your account. When they came out with debit cards, they didn't have a phone app yet, but you can go to the ATM and stick your debit card in there and get your balance. That's probably what I know that's what I did. I go by the ATM, stick my card in there, see how much I got in there, then I go from there. Or I knew that I wasn't working with that much money, so I would keep it in my head how much I spent. And even in that, I think one of the best ways to get out of poverty is you got to write it down and look at it. Whether it's on a spreadsheet, whether it's on Google Sheets, and see. Before you spend it, ask yourself, do I really need this? Or is it just something I want? Sometimes you have to put back what you want in order to get to that point of stability, to get out of that poverty state or that. Sometimes it's the little detailed thoughts and decisions that can be the difference between poverty and stability. Once you get a job, especially now, if you're young, you got to get a checking account. Most jobs now, you got to have a checking account. When I worked at BP, just getting paid in cash. I was getting paid in cash. But as I started getting newer jobs, when I first started, I think when I was 16, working at Baskin Robbins, that was when I got a legit job. You got a check and you had to go to the bank and cash it, but you didn't have to deposit unless you wanted to. And if you didn't have the financial management, you just go cash the check and put the money in your pocket. I did that. So I was fortunate enough to work like retail, restaurant jobs when I was in high school. So I had some experience. Now, fast forward to when I graduated. Graduated high school, 17. I wanted to be a massage therapist or masseuse. But when I seen how much it cost, I kind of backtracked on it and I just worked. And when I look back on it, on hindsight, I should have had two or three alternatives outside of just being a massage therapist. I should have looked at all avenues. And that's one of the things I want to go back and teach the kids when I get all this education out the way that I'm doing now, is to show them the different avenues that you can go down. There are many streets, I'm talking about many streets you can go down. You don't have to just settle working at a retail job. It's just a stepping stone. You want to get to a career job as efficient as you can. So fast forward, not even fast forward, 17, I go just start working. And like I say, I'm probably going to get the old resume and kind of go through those different things that I learned. Cause you learn as you graduate, you learn about dealing with adults. You learn about life different because you're not in high school anymore. You're out in the world with adults. So it's a little different than dealing with people in high school. It's a little different. However, I didn't fully move out on my own as of yet because I was helping paying bills. Probably from about 17 to I want to say about 19, 20, something like that. Yeah, about 19, 20, something like that. So at that point, my mom, she got married, moved to Melbourne, and she said, "Son, I'm moving to Melbourne. Can you can live in the house? You got it?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, how much is it? She said, "You're looking at about with rent and utilities, about $900 a month." Now, this is probably maybe 2003, 4, something like that. There's no way that I could afford that on what I was making. There was more than a whole. Then if I'd have paid it out of both checks that I brought home every 2 weeks, I probably would have had $100 left over, if that. So I knew that I couldn't do that on my own. So I had to think, what's another way that I could still live in this house, can afford it, and not be in a state where I'm always robbing Peter to pay Paul. And that's when the bright idea came up of having roommates. Shout out to my man fam, and shout out to BJ. Shout out to them. Reached out to BJ. Hey, mom about to move to Malvern. I got 2 rooms. You want one of them? Yes. Sign me up. Hollered at my boy Fam working at the mall. Fam, you want to come move in? Yeah, let's sign me up. So now it goes from $900 to $300 a piece. Can't ask for no better. I'm talking about a nice size house. Everybody got their own bedroom. Now it's affordable. One of my issues was also is that I had a car note. Had like a 2001 Monte Carlo. So I was paying $300 a month, and then I was paying I think 416.22. I think that's what it was. $416.22 on the car note. So $700 is my total overhead as far as bills is concerned. Because we just paid a flat $300 a piece, and then I mailed in mailed in the car note to GMAC at that time. Everything else I paid for with cash. I didn't really do recurring, a lot of recurring, maybe cell phone bill, but I didn't do a whole lot of recurring stuff at that time because I knew I couldn't afford it. One thing about poverty, you got to know what you can afford. You have to know what you can afford, and you have to know what you can't afford. And there's nothing wrong with telling yourself, I cannot afford this. This is too rich for my blood. I'm not doing it because I'm not going to put myself in a bind. Even in that, I still made some poverty decisions that I shouldn't have made. There were times that I should have put money back, but I went and bought some Jordans. There was time that I should have put some money back, but I went and bought a big screen TV for my room. I had like a 55-inch TV in my room. This is before the thin flat screens. It was a flat screen, but it wasn't as thin as they are now. Playing Xbox, playing Call of Duty, all that kind of stuff. What I'm saying is, man, sometimes with poverty, man, you got to be creative in your thinking. And even in that, looking back on hindsight, when we lived together as roommates, we were so young, we were so green, man. It was so many things we could have done to save money, but we just didn't. Like I should have been cooking way more. I should have been cooking way more. But what was I doing? Going to McDonald's, going to Wendy's, dollar menu. I think we use a Foreman grill here and there, make burgers or something, or burger patties and stuff like that. But it was a total bachelor pad. It was definitely three guys living in the house and just surviving and just living, man, having fun. Probably too much fun, but we was having fun. Shout out to BJ. Shout out to fam, man. Try to get them on, come chop it up with me, man. Talk about them days a little bit. What we can talk about respectfully anyway. And rest in peace to my guy, Marcus Hamilton. He came after BJ left. He kind of motivated me to be financially accountable because he went to school for finance and we used to talk about finance all the time. But shout out to my boy Marcus. Shout out to Carmion. That's who we ended up marrying. He used to come around, interior designer. And this is pre-marriage. This is before I met my wife. We was roommates for years. But I gotta say shout out to my wife for choosing to marry me, even though I may not have been in the state to be married. But she chose me, she committed to me, and she was a great and is still a great help, a great support to me right now. But this, what I'm talking about, is before marriage. When you become an adult and you trying to live on your own and you realize that you don't even make enough money to live on your own. But by the grace of God, I had awesome roommates. We all trusted each other. You know, nobody, um, no funny stuff. Nobody messed with nobody stuff. We lived together in harmony. It was pretty cool. But if I would have tried to do it on my own, that young, I just wasn't making enough money. I was working regular kind of jobs. And that's why I'm telling kids go to school when you're young and get it done. I think when my mom got married and I was working at St. Vincent by then. 7 days on, 7 days off. Just got the money, Carlo. I think when I graduated high school, moved around some jobs, finally landed at St. Vincent. Was a lab courier. Was an awesome schedule because I used to hang out like a mug. But 7 days on, working nights, and 7 days off. Would go in from like seven p.m. to 7 in the morning. It was awesome schedule. But I did not invest the time. Poverty mindset did not invest the time in developing myself. Was just hanging out, kicking it, hanging out. I didn't go to school. I didn't try to get any certifications or learn anything. I was just working, hanging out, sleep, spending money, working, hanging out, sleep, spending money. Poverty mindset. And I used to hear this so much from people that was older than me. They would always say, "Why you so intelligent? Why don't you go to school?" And I say, "Nah, I don't need school." I used to say that a lot. I used to be one of those people. That's why I'm so adamant about education because I used to be one of those people. And what happened was I got older and I found out that I need to go back and get my education. I found out. I found out the hard way. When you realize that you're not gonna make enough, that you're at the ceiling. And I know people talk about climbing. You can climb the ladder. Man, it ain't as easy as you think. Just climbing a ladder with just a high school diploma. Not as easy as you think. The grind is real. It'll wear you down. And then sometimes, even in the grind, it still ain't guaranteed. Something can happen. You can build equity with somebody, then that somebody leave. Now you starting over. It's all kind of stuff. But what I found out is when I got that education, just getting an associate degree, it changed the whole landscape of the jobs that I worked. But going back to the roommates, the poverty to stability. When we all got settled in, paying the $300 a month. We was at a level of stability as three young men living together in the house. We was at a level of stability. However, what I learned was if you take on too much than what you can handle, you'll be at a level of stability, but there will be the little things that you won't be able to do because so much money is being pulled on bills, utilities, and food. And when you live in a bachelor pad, man, nobody like cooking like families, like a family meals and stuff like that. You just buying stuff quick and easy, cereal, probably what oatmeal if you even eat that, chicken patties and stuff like that. Putting it on a Foreman grill, all kind of stuff. You just trying to survive. It's a bachelor pad. It ain't even about we. I know I should have been cooking. I don't know about them, but I know I should have been cooking more. But I just didn't have no sense, man. I was just hanging out, kicking it. So use what I did was use it as motivation to get better. Even though I didn't go to school, I would always look at jobs that would give me the experience. And if a job didn't give me, if I didn't get the raises or if I didn't get the salary that I should have in like 5 or 6 years, I would probably start shopping my value out on the market. That was my plan when I was younger. It's a little different now, but when I was younger, I think it was more like that. Like I'm not going to ask or beg for anything or raise, but I'm going to sit back and watch how you treat the people in the company. I look at the results. I've always been like that. I'm not an emotional person. I'm a businessman. I think like a business, more logical, and I just sit back and watch. Do you take care of your people? Do you reward them for being loyal, growing with the company, and becoming an asset to your company? Some people do, some people don't. I'm objective about it. It's no feelings involved. It's do you take care of your people or not? And sometimes you have to work at some jobs to get the experience in order to use that job as a stepping stone. Just how it works. But definitely worked there. I think I worked there almost 4 or 5 years, most definitely. But being able to get to a point of stability where had the shelter, had a car that was reliable, and having a place to lay your head every day. I was fortunate, like I said, I was fortunate enough to have great roommates before I got married. And I think right when everybody moved out, that's when I got married. And we both had jobs and we just held each other down. But more so her than me, because I was working at the airport and being a shuttle driver while I was going to school. when I met my wife. And when I got the associate's degree, that's when things changed. Like I started, like when you live in the inner city, you're kind of at a disadvantage because you don't have the information to know what the next step is. And that's what we talk about in the Thinking Game podcast. Make sure to check that out when we do that during the week. You just don't have the information that you need. It's like an information gap or a lack of information as far as career development, as far as individual development, as far as different fields to look in. So many of them out there. You just got to be able to research and look it up. But there is a way for everybody. You just got to put in the work. Like for me, sometimes poverty or being broke motivates you to find the right field to get in. And then you starting to move up, getting out of the minimum wage area. You start moving to the mid-level area. It's possible, but you got to put in the work. So the next one is, what is your perception of you? Not what is other people's perception of you. What is your perception of you? We got to stop, get to a point, I would say you as an individual, just like I did, you got to get to a point where you have to have a perception of who you are based on reality. Are you going to be perfect? No, nobody is, but you can progress. You can progress. Tell people that I'm not perfect, but I'm progressing. But what is your perception of you? Do you think you're nice? Do you think you're mean? Because people tell you you're mean all the time, but your perception of you, like how do you make your decisions? Are you a rational thinker, irrational thinker, rational or healthy confidence, or irrational confidence? Who are you? Because if you don't know who you are, you start listening to other people's perceptions, you'll be confused in who you are real fast. Because sometimes people don't like the things or your natural talents and abilities because it don't fit their narrative or their motive. But the things that they don't like, that may be the thing that very well make you successful as an adult. But you have to know that because you have to have the perception of you. Don't allow another person's perception to cause you to question your identity or question who you are. We all have things we need to work on. We all are flawed at some points in our lives. But don't allow somebody else's perception to cause you to go into a mental state where you're doubting yourself, keeping yourself in the dumps, or it's shaking up your confidence. You have to have a positive perception of yourself. You have to have a winning mindset, perception of yourself. Because you can have all the support in the world, but you still got to go out and perform and make it happen. Like my wife and kids, they support me, but I still have to go to these classes and pass these classes. I still had to do the 4-year degree and I had to graduate. I had to do that. Much as they can't do those classes for me, I have to go to the class, sit in the class, learn, do the homework, get the grade, pass the class, then graduate with the support. So, as men or any person, whether you have support or whether you don't, you still have to perform. Universal individual development. The next one is, what are you focusing on? Where is your focus? Is it spiritual development? Is it mental development? Or are you focused on what people are saying about you? Are you focused on what people trying to get you? Sometimes people will mold you into what they think you should be, and it may not be who you are. You have to think about that. That's why you gotta know the perception of you. That's why you have to develop yourself spiritually. Get in that Bible. Because everybody has a purpose. Whether you want to do the purpose or not is up to you. It's your choice. But you have to find who you are. And sometimes it takes some time. It's just you have to not get caught up in the folly of life. And the earlier you can find yourself, the better. So I ask you again, what are you focusing on? She likes it my way. What are you focusing on? Because if you're focusing on developing yourself, a lot of the other stuff you won't even be thinking about. A lot of times people that's nosy, they focus on other people's stuff. A lot of people that be trolling and hating, they're focused on other people's stuff. It's okay to observe and learn, but you don't have to focus on it. You have to focus on your individual development. Even people that's married, yes, two people become one, but you still, while you're becoming one individually, you still have to get better and better spiritually in order for that one to become stronger and stronger. I can't make my wife want to develop as a wife. This is where she can't make me want to develop as a husband. But if I want to develop as a husband and get better, and she wants to develop and get better as a wife, the marriage gets better and stronger each day. But it's not my job to make her or try to tell her what she needs to do. Not my job. When you're an adult, you understand or you have enough maturity to understand what your role is and you work within that role that you have. Nothing wrong with saying that you have a role to play. Nothing wrong with that. And for people out there that say, men are leaders, do you know that leaders are supposed to be the first one to serve? It's not all about people serving you. You have to be a servant to people that's up under you if you're a leader. But once again, what are you focusing on? Are you just focusing on the title and not the details of the title? Focus on developing yourself in whatever situation, whether you're a husband, whether you're a father, whether you're a son, a family member. Focus on trying to get better each day at those phases in life. And I promise you, you will see the improvement, but you have to focus. Am I saying you're going to be perfect at it? No. Sometimes you got to write it down. I know I do. I'm not perfect. I think I probably had ADD growing up, but you know what kept me in line? That belt. But now I've learned how to use, if I got ADD, I learned how to use it as a superpower. What do I mean by that? Well, when you work in IT or just in life, there are so many things that happen at one time. It's hard to just focus on one thing. So if you got like 100% focus, 100 points, you might have to put so many points in this, so many points in that, so many points in that. Like a priority list. And then sometimes you might have to take all those points and focus on one thing that's got the highest priority and then go back to spreading the focus back out. So, one way to get out of poverty is you have to focus on the right things, not the material things. Focus on getting to stability. Focus on not putting yourself in a bind. Focus on the strategy to get out of poverty. Focus. Last slide. Making decisions off perception is dangerous. Don't do it. Make a decision based on logical sense. Does it make sense for me to do this? Can I afford this? I'm not buying this so because I think somebody gonna see me in this. Oh man, look at Mike in that new car. And people don't even realize that the average car note now, I think they're saying it's like 800 and above. Who want to pay $800 a month for a car? I know I don't. You got trucks out here that cost more than a house. And people are buying it. I'm not saying all, but there are people that buy stuff just to be seen. That's just so they can say they was driving the newest truck. I've been there. Like I said, I had the Monte Carlo, had rims on the speakers, TV in there and everything. Trying to impress the girls. Perception. Ask me where it's at now. I don't even know where that car is now. I don't even know. And when I started to get older, it clicked. I don't need none of that stuff. I don't. But when you're young, you don't have that mentorship, you don't have that leadership to kind of keep you reined in, you'll go off the rails so fast. I know I did. So be careful about making decisions on perception. It'll lead you down a rabbit hole that you will never really get out of, and you'll never be fulfilled making decisions off perception. When you get spiritually fulfilled, you don't even care about perception. You don't even care about it enough. I know there are people that say they care about what people think about them, but I'm going to say only people probably didn't know me, because there are some people that have a perception about something, but they really don't know enough about it to have a proper perception about it. Like there's some people that think I work in IT. Their perception is I just work on computers. And there was a time that's what I did. But because I focus on personal development, I focus on my career development, I ain't worked on computer in years. Totally away from help desk stuff now. But if you don't understand it, your perception is only based on what you know or another person's perception. And not believe me, I hadn't been in help desk in years. So making decisions off perception, you gotta be careful about that. Because it can lead you down a path that you don't want to go. So many people out here that they're making those decisions on perception, and they're in situations that's causing them mental anguish, physical stress, and all based on what people think about them on the ground, what people saying about them on Twitter. And I could care less. My goal is to make this body of work for somebody that want to hear it and let you know that you can be great. You can come out of poverty, but you got to make good decisions. You got to put in that work. And you have to be strategic and intentional about your steps that you make, because it's a difference. Every step will have a result that come with it, whether you believe it or not. But it does.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
So be careful about perception, especially when you're trying to get to a point of stability, and even when you're trying to move up to success. Everybody's version of success is different. As long as it's legit and legal and not morally hurting somebody, work your way up to the success that your vision is showing you. As long as it's legit, as long as it's legal, as long as you're not hurting nobody, ethically or morally, you make it happen. And if you educate yourself, it makes it that much efficient. But we have to get out of this trick that we tricked ourselves that you don't need education, because it's not true. You do need education. You do need to find something to excel in, not just working retail jobs. Because there's a ceiling in retail jobs unless you're gonna be like a store manager. And most people that I know that worked as store managers, the stress was so high, they only could do it for so long because they had to end up retiring or quitting, going to another sector because it's just too much. It's too much to bear. The stress was too high. Their doctor told them, if you don't quit this job, you're probably gonna stroke out from the stress. But if you go into a career, you specialize in something, it won't be as stressful, especially if you learn about the elements of the job. But thanks everybody for watching the Mike Motivation Podcast, where I talk about universal individual development, different little things you can learn growing up in that individual development phase. We have to learn sometimes through observation. We have to learn through education. Sometimes you learn through trial and error. But in all of that, you develop yourself to be a better person. So with that being said, thanks for watching. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Thanks to everybody who's been supporting the channel. Thanks to everybody who's been supporting CTM TV. Let me know if you would like us to come around and talk to some of the kids in the community center, schools. We would love to talk to them about development, individual development, because I think it's important to understand as an adult, you're responsible for your development. When you graduate high school, there will be no more counselors. There will be no more teachers. It's all you at that point. And if you follied around in school and didn't take it serious enough, you're going to make the climb that much harder. But this is Mike. Thanks for watching. I'm too deep in the game to stop. Keep making this content. And I'm signing out.